Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take various sources, could be articles, research, even our own notes, and we pull out the key insights for you. Basically, it's a shortcut to getting up to speed on important topics.
Yep, quickly and thoroughly.
Exactly. And today we're tackling something really crucial: corporate governance. Our mission, if you like, is to explore how it's evolved over time and get a good handle on a specific framework that's designed to make boards, well, better.
More effective, yeah.
We've got excerpts from Corporate Governance 3.0, the TGF Principles of Good Governance, some background on Carl George and his work, and even a pretty interesting self-assessment tool for board dynamics.
It's definitely a timely topic. Good governance isn't just a nice-to-have anymore. It's becoming absolutely essential, really across all sectors.
For sure. And the framework we're zoning in on today, it's gained quite a bit of recognition, we'll get into it, but it was actually endorsed by the late Sir Adrian Cadbury.
That's right. It signals that it's more than just theory. It's about actively cultivating a strong governance culture. We're going to unpack, a structured approach that aims for truly effective governance.
Okay, sounds good. Let's maybe start by unpacking the different stages or generations of corporate governance, as laid out in Corporate Governance 3.0. It mentions three. Generation 1.0, the paper age, up to 1992. What was that like?
Well, Generation 1.0, as the name suggests, was largely before computers became, central to business. But crucially, the authors talk about dominance hierarchy tendencies,
Right.
meaning often there weren't strong enough checks and balances, think less formal oversight. And this period, it saw some pretty big corporate collapses, Maxwell, Polypec, BCCI. Those failures really highlighted the weaknesses.
Right, I remember those headlines.
Yeah, and a direct result was the Cadbury Committee. Their 1992 report was a real turning point, pushing for clearer structures, more accountability.
Okay, so that failure spurred change. Which brings us to Generation 2.0, roughly 91 to 2010, called the computer age. Now, you'd think computers would fix things, but they call this era willful blindness. Why that label?
Yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive, isn't it? Despite more tech, more data flying around, Generation 2.0 had some absolutely massive governance disasters. Enron springs to mind immediately.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
All that complex accounting, hiding huge debts, or WorldCom, just outright fraud. Then there was Parmalat, Lehman Brothers. These showed governance failures could have huge global consequences.
So what was the response then? More rules.
Pretty much. We saw major legislation, especially in the U.S., like Sarbanes-Oxley, SOX in 2002, and then Dodd-Frank in 2010 after the financial crisis. The U.K. had the Walker Report, too, looking at banks.
Did those fixes work?
Well, they were necessary steps, certainly. SOX, for example, brought in much stricter reporting requirements. But some argue that focusing heavily on compliance, on ticking boxes, didn't fully tackle the underlying cultural issues, that willful blindness perhaps needed more than just rules, which is where newer frameworks maybe try to be more holistic.
Willful blindness. It
Yeah.
really suggests people chose not to see the problems.
Okay, then we hit Generation 3.0, 2011 to 2022, the digital age. What defines this period?
Disruption, that's the key word. Primarily from tech companies, shaking things up. Lots of established, maybe complacent players were challenged by faster, more tech-savvy newcomers.
Like the classic innovator's dilemma playing out.
Exactly. And the sheer speed of things like AI and other technologies just caught many off guard. It really drove home the need for boards to be, more adaptable, more digitally aware, constantly scanning the horizon. It really seems like governance evolution is often reactive, driven by crises. Now, Corporate Governance 3.0 also points to the long history behind this, championed by the Chartered Governance Institute, the CGI. They've been around a while, haven't they?
Oh, absolutely. A very long while. The CGI traces its roots back 130 years.
Since its first charter way back in 1902, their core mission has consistently been about promoting effective governance and efficient administration, not just UK, but across the Commonwealth and beyond.
130 years is impressive. And have the core ideas stayed the same?
Remarkably so. According to their own historical view, three fundamental principles have endured: accountability, integrity, and openness.
Accountability, integrity, openness. Seems like a solid foundation.
They really are essential building blocks for trust in any organization, really.
Okay, so we have this evolving landscape, these enduring principles. And that brings us to Carl George. He's a lead author of Corporate Governance 3.0, and we also have his TGF Principles of Good Governance. Tell us about him. Why is his work significant here?
Carl George is, well, he's a major voice in governance today, a real thought leader, author, consultant with experience all over the world. He's the managing director of the Governance Forum, or TGF.
TGF, yeah.
Yes, and he created the governance framework, that's the TGF we mentioned, and also the effective board member programs. Plus, he wrote key books like Corporate Governance 3.0 and The Effective Board Member.
So he's both thinking about it and teaching it.
Precisely. He's also a fellow of both ACCA and the Chartered Governance Institute, and he founded the Association of Corporate Governance Practitioners. And importantly, he developed this distinct governance framework and even a kite mark, a quality seal associated with it.
Right, the governance framework TGF. So let's dig into that. The TGF principles document suggests it's not just about compliance, is it?
Not at all. That's the core message. TGF stresses that good governance is way more than just following rules. It's about getting this deep alignment between the organization's fundamental purpose, its strategy, its core values, and its actual culture, how things really get done.
Connecting the dots.
Exactly. It came out of looking at loads of different organizations across different sectors, and it's built around 9 clear standards. And achieving these standards means an organization can actually get a formal kite mark in governance, which is accredited by the Chartered Governance Institute.
A tangible recognition. You mentioned 9 standards, but also distilling principles.
Yes, the underlying TGF principles themselves were actually distilled from analyzing 12 different existing governance codes.
12. Wow.
From where?
All over. The UK Corporate Governance Code, naturally, but also codes for housing associations, charities, sports bodies, even international ones like the King de Vee Report from South Africa and the Singapore Code. These 12 codes were boiled down into 12 core TGF principles.
And how are those principles organized?
They're grouped under 3 main headings: resources, competency, and execution. Think of resources as having the right info and support. Competency is about having the right mix of skills and experience on the board. And execution is about having effective processes for actually making decisions and overseeing things. Resources, competency, execution. RCE. Makes sense.
Yeah, they work together to build that strong foundation.
And we mentioned an endorsement earlier from a very significant name.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely critical point. The late Sir Adrian Cadbury, the architect of that landmark 1992 report, he actually endorsed the governance framework.
That's huge.
It really is. Coming from him, it adds enormous weight and credibility to the TGF approach. It says this isn't just another framework, it's something built on deep understanding.
Okay, that's TGF. Now, Carl George also developed the Effective Board Member EBM programs. What's the goal there?
Right, the EBM programs. These are award-winning courses, actually. They're specifically designed to give people the knowledge, the skills, the understanding they need to be, well, effective on a board.
Practical skills.
Very much so. And they've had quite a reach. Our sources say they've been delivered in, I believe, 11 countries now. And the TGF governance methodology is right at the heart of what they teach. The idea is to give practical tools you can use straight away in the boardroom. He even developed something called the board game, apparently.
A board game for board members.
Yeah.
Interesting. 11 countries is in significant reach. Shifting gears slightly, we also saw mention of the TGF's zoo animal self-assessment. That name certainly catches the eye. What on earth is that?
Aha! Yes, the zoo animals. It sounds a bit funny, but it's actually a really clever, memorable way to think about board dynamics specifically, the dysfunctional ones.
Dysfunctional dynamics, like what?
It highlights 4 common problem areas: groupthink, conflict, what it calls operational dysfunction, and passive behavior. And then it uses these animal archetypes to represent specific behaviors within each category.
Okay, give me an example. Groupthink.
Sure. So under groupthink, you might find the monkey uses humor, maybe to avoid serious topics. Or the sheep just goes along with the majority, no questions asked. The penguin avoids any kind of conflict, and the parrot just repeats what others, maybe the chair, says.
Huh. Penguins, parrots. I can almost picture it. What about the other categories? Quick examples.
Okay, under conflict, you might get the shark aggressive, dominates discussion. Or the crab maybe stirs up trouble between members.
Right.
Then operational dysfunction, maybe the busy bee who takes on too much and gets overwhelmed, or the beaver who gets totally lost in the tiny details.
Analysis paralysis.
Kind of, yeah. And finally, passive behavior. You might have the snail, slow to act, or the dog who just nods everything through without really engaging. It's a lighthearted way to surface some really serious potential blockers to board effectiveness.
It's definitely a memorable way to think about those dynamics. Okay, this all seems to tie in nicely with something specific we wanted to mention for you listening. There's an upcoming Effective Board Member program in May 2026. What can people expect if they attend that?
Yes, that May 2026 EBM program is a really fantastic opportunity. It directly covers the stuff we've been talking about, specifically the TGF governance framework, the one endorsed by the late Sir Adrian Cadbury.
So they'll get deep into that framework.
Absolutely. They'll also cover the TGF governance code, those 12 core principles we discussed, distilled from all those other codes. And they'll draw on insights from the Corporate Governance 3.0 book, too. It's a chance to really understand this comprehensive approach.
And you mentioned its reach.
That's right. It's worth remembering this isn't just theoretical. This framework, these principles, they've been delivered through the EBM programs to literally thousands of directors across 11 countries. So it's tried and tested in diverse settings.
Okay, so wrapping this up, we've taken quite the journey looking at how corporate governance has evolved, often in response to crises, from the paper age right through to the digital age.
Highlighting that need for constant adaptation.
Exactly. And we've really focused on the governance framework, TGF, as a comprehensive approach that goes beyond just ticking boxes, just in that crucial alignment of purpose, strategy, values, and culture.
And crucially, carrying that significant endorsement from Sir Adrian Cadbury.
Definitely a key point. Plus, we touched on the practical application through the effective board member programs, now running in 11 countries, and even those memorable zoo animals helping identify board dysfunctions.
And the underlying message, really, is that strong governance, like the kind promoted by TGF, isn't just about avoiding disaster. It's fundamental. It drives success, ensures organizations can last, and builds that vital trust with everyone involved: employees, customers, investors, the public.
Well said. And for any of you listening who want to explore this more deeply, that upcoming EBM program in May 2026 sounds like a prime opportunity.
Absolutely. And maybe here's a final thought for you to take away. Consider the boards, or maybe even just the teams you know. Can you spot any of those animal dynamics playing out? And how might a structured approach, a framework like TGF, help foster, healthier, more effective governance and decision making in those situations? Definitely worth exploring the resources we've talked about today.